Evan Miles walked through the quiet alien valley with slow steps, trying to ignore the cold wind that touched his skin. He had crashed his small ship only 1 hour ago, and he still felt dizzy. His goal was simple. He only wanted help. He only wanted someone who could show him the direction to a safe place. But the valley did not look normal. Strange blue mist moved across the ground like soft waves. Tall glowing trees stood on both sides, and every step Evan took made a soft echo. He had explored many planets before, but this place felt different. It felt like someone was watching him from every shadow. Suddenly, he saw movement ahead. A group of aliens stood near a fire circle. Their skin was pale gold, and their eyes shone like small moons. Evan froze in fear for a moment, but then he forced himself to walk forward. He needed help, and running away was not an option. The aliens did not attack him. Instead, they moved aside and cleared a path for him. It surprised him. They seemed calm, almost gentle. An old alien with long silver lines on his face stepped forward. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were full of hope. Evan raised his hand slowly. He placed it out in front of him, a simple human greeting. He smiled a little and said, "Hello, I come in peace." The old alien stared at Evan's hand for a long moment. Then he slowly lifted his own hand and pressed it against Evan's. It was a handshake, a normal handshake. Evan thought it was a good start. He felt relieved and happy that the aliens did not see him as a threat. But something strange happened. The alien elder did not let go. Instead, his eyes widened. His mouth opened as if he had seen a miracle. He turned to the tribe behind him and spoke in a loud, trembling voice. Evan did not understand the language, but he understood the reaction. Everyone gasped at the same time. The fire crackled louder. The drums around the circle began to beat fast. Too fast, the air changed. The glowing trees brightened. Evan felt fear rising inside him. He pulled his hand back gently, but the elder held it tightly. The old alien fell to his knees, still holding Evan's hand up high. The rest of the tribe dropped to the ground too. They bowed as if they were in front of a king or a god. "What is happening?" Evan whispered. He took a step back, but the elder refused to let go. A young alien girl standing near the drums whispered, "He accepted the bond." Her voice shook with emotion. "He accepted the marriage bond." Evan blinked in shock. He thought he heard wrong. Marriage. He had only shaken a hand. How could this be marriage? Another alien repeated the same words loudly. This time the whole group began to cheer. The elder finally released Evan's hand and lifted his arms toward the sky. He shouted something that sounded like a victory call. The rest of the tribe shouted back. Their voices filled the valley. Evan's heart started beating fast. Cold sweat formed on his forehead. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Wait. I think there is a mistake," he said. "Humans shake hands as a greeting, not for marriage." But no one listened. They were all celebrating. Drums grew louder. Fires rose higher. Children threw flower-like petals into the air. Some aliens even approached Evan and placed glowing necklaces on his shoulders. He tried stepping away, but a group of smiling aliens gently guided him toward a tall glowing tent. They believed he belonged there now. Inside the tent, strange symbols shone on the walls. They looked like spirals and stars. A young alien woman touched Evan's arm and smiled kindly. "Do not fear," she said. "You are the chosen one now. You are one with the Ulani tribe." Evan shook his head quickly. No, this is wrong. I didn't agree to anything." The woman's smile faded. She looked surprised, even confused. "But you did," she said softly. "The sacred handshake is the strongest promise in our tribe. Refusing it after accepting is forbidden. It brings death to the tribe." Evan froze. His breath stopped in his chest. Death to the tribe. His simple handshake had become a dangerous mistake. He looked outside the tent and saw hundreds of aliens dancing and cheering in his name. They believed he had married the entire tribe. They believed he had chosen them forever. And now, if he backed out, the consequences would be deadly. Evan stood still as the truth sank in. The drums outside beat harder and harder. The alien tribe celebrated their new husband, and Evan realized his real trouble was only beginning. Evan Miles sat inside the glowing tent, feeling the strange symbols shine softly on his skin. He tried to wipe them away with his hand. But the glowing marks only grew brighter. It felt like warm light sinking into his body. He did not understand it, and that made the fear inside him even worse. Outside, the tribe continued their wild celebration. Drums echoed like thunder, voices rose with joy, and Evan knew they were celebrating him, the human who had married their entire tribe by accident. He placed his hands on his face and whispered, "Why did I shake that hand?" Before he could think more, the curtain of the tent opened. The young alien woman from before stepped inside. Her name was Lyra, and she carried a bowl of glowing water. She placed it on the floor and sat across from him. Lyra spoke gently. "Your bond marks have appeared. The tribe is very happy." Evan let out a tired sigh. "Lyra, listen. Humans don't marry with handshakes. I didn't mean for this to happen." Lyra looked confused again, as if she could not understand how simple touching of hands meant nothing to him. "But the sacred handshake is everything," she said. "Only a leader, a protector, or a life partner may accept it. When the elder offered his hand, he offered his heart, and you accepted." Evan shook his head slowly. "On my world, shaking hands only means hello." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. "Only hello." Her voice cracked softly, like this truth hurt her somehow. Before Evan could explain more, the tent entrance opened again. This time the elder entered. His steps were slow but full of pride. He carried a long staff with silver rings that jingled like tiny bells. The elder bowed deeply to Evan. "I am Elder Varu," he said in a warm voice. "You have honored us with your bond. The tribe is safe now. The old prophecy is fulfilled." Maven stood up quickly. "Elder Varu, please. I didn't know your customs. I didn't know a handshake meant marriage. I don't want to hurt you or your people, but this is a mistake." Silence fell inside the tent. Even the drums outside seemed to fade for a moment, as if the valley itself paused to listen. Elder Varu lifted his eyes at Evan. "Human, the bond cannot be undone," he said softly. "If you reject the bond, the tribe will suffer great shame, and the old spirits will punish us with death." Yevon felt his legs weaken. He sat down again, trying to catch his breath. "So, I'm trapped," he whispered. Lyra stepped forward and placed a light hand on his shoulder. "You are not trapped," she said softly. "You are needed." Evan looked at her with tired eyes. "Needed for what?" The elder lowered himself to sit beside him. "Our tribe is in danger," he said. "For many cycles, the Yulani have been hunted by rival tribes. They want our land, our light trees, and our wisdom. We are peaceful people. We do not fight." He pointed at Evan's glowing symbols. "But the prophecy says a being from the sky, a human with fire in his blood, will give us strength again." Evan let out a weak laugh. "I don't have fire in my blood." The elder smiled gently. "You protected the children when the crash shook the valley. We saw you pull one away from falling stones. That is fire." Them remembered the small child who had almost slipped when his ship hit the cliff. He did grab her by instinct. It was natural for him, but the tribe had seen it as a sign. Lyra's voice softened even more. "The rival tribes will test you soon. They will come to see if you are worthy of the bond. If you fail, they will call our tribe weak, and then they will attack." Evan felt his heart beat faster. "So I have to fight for your tribe, even though I didn't choose this." "Yes," the elder said. "But you will not be alone. We will guide you. We will stand beside you." Evan looked at his glowing hands again. The symbols felt warm, almost alive. He wondered if they were only light, or if something deeper was happening inside him, something he did not yet understand. Outside, the drums rose again, louder than before. Lyra walked to the tent entrance and looked out. Her expression changed to worry. "They are coming," she whispered. "The first rival scouts. They want to see the human who married our tribe. Evan stood up slowly. The fear was real. But something inside him told him to face whatever waited outside. He walked to the entrance, his hands still glowing. The tribe outside turned toward him, eyes full of hope. And in the distance, dark shapes approached across the valley. Evan took a deep breath. His mistake had become his responsibility now, and the first test of the unwanted bond was about to begin. Evan stepped out of the glowing tent with slow, careful steps. His heart beat like a drum inside his chest. The entire Ulani tribe turned toward him, their eyes full of hope, fear, and trust. They believed he was their protector now, their bonded guardian, even though he never wanted this bond. But he could not turn back, not anymore. Far across the valley, dark shapes moved between the glowing trees. The rival scouts, their bodies sharp like stone shadows, stepped into the open. Their armor shone like metal teeth, and their eyes burned bright red. The Ulani children hid behind their parents. The elders bowed their heads, but the rivals did not look at the tribe. They looked only at Evan. Lyra walked to Evan's side and whispered, "These are the Rockin. They will test you first. They always test the one who claims the sacred bond." Evan swallowed hard. "But I didn't claim anything." Lyra shook her head slowly. "To them, it does not matter." The Rockin leader stepped forward. He was tall, stronger than the others. His face was covered in dark blue marks. He lifted a heavy staff and stabbed it into the ground. The echo ran across the valley like thunder. "Human." The leader growled. "You touched the sacred hand of the Ulani elder. You accepted the marriage bond. You accepted the prophecy. Now you must prove you are worthy." Evan raised both hands, trying to explain. "Listen, I didn't mean." But the Rockin leader cut him off. "Your meaning does not matter. Only your strength matters. Only your courage matters. Only your will matters." A huge circle of Ulani formed behind Evan. A circle of Rockin formed in front of him. It felt like the whole valley shut its doors on him, trapping him in the middle. "What do you want me to do?" Evan asked. His voice shook a little. The Rockin leader pulled out 3 glowing stones and scattered them on the ground. 3 trials, he said. Pass them, and the bond stands strong. Fail them, and the tribe becomes weak. If the tribe is weak, we take their land. Evan tensed. This was not a test of honor. This was a test of survival. The first trial began when a Rockin warrior stepped forward and pointed to a tall tree with huge glowing fruit. "Climb the tree," the warrior said. "Bring down 1 fruit before it burns." The fruit suddenly burst into bright flame. Evan had only seconds. He ran toward the tree, grabbed the rough trunk, and climbed as fast as he could. His hands burned. His legs shook. The fire grew stronger with every heartbeat. Below, the Ulani stared with wide, frightened eyes. Evan reached the fruit just as the flames turned blue. He tore it free and dropped to the ground, rolling to save himself from the heat. The Ulani gasped in relief. The Rockin only frowned. The second trial was harder. A Rockin warrior placed a glowing stone inside a circle of shifting sand. The sand moved like a living creature, sharp edges opening and closing like hungry mouths. "Step inside," the warrior said. "Take the stone." Without being cut, Evan stared at the sand moving like a trap. He knew one wrong step meant serious injury, maybe worse, but he stepped in anyway. His mind raced. He watched the sand shift. He stepped only where the ground was still. His breath was slow, his hands steady. He reached the stone, grabbed it, and stepped out just as the sand snapped shut behind him. The Ulani cheered. The Rockin growled with anger. The third trial came without warning. The Rockin leader charged at Evan with the heavy staff, swinging it with full force. Evan barely ducked. The staff missed his head by inches. The ground cracked where it hit. Lyra shouted in fear. "Evan, be careful." Evan grabbed a broken branch from the ground. It was weak, but it was all he had. The Rockin leader attacked again. Evan blocked. The branch shattered, but he stepped in fast and pushed the leader back with all his strength. For a moment, the valley fell silent. The Rockin leader stared at Evan, surprised. No human should have been able to push him. Evan stood firm, breathing fast. "If you want a fight," he said, "I'll give you a fight. If it means protecting them." The leader lifted his staff, then slowly lowered it. He stepped back and bowed slightly. "The human passes," he said. "For now." The Rockin disappeared into the forest, leaving the valley tense but alive. The Yulani rushed to Evan, cheering, crying, touching his arms with gratitude. Lyra placed a glowing cloth around his shoulders, her voice soft but full of warmth. "You faced the first trials," she whispered, "but this is only the beginning." Evan looked out at the dark forest where the Rockin vanished. He knew more. Tribes would come, stronger, more dangerous. His unwanted bond had pulled him into a storm he could not escape. And the next trial would be far worse. Night fell slowly over the Yulani Valley. But it did not bring peace. The glowing trees dimmed one by one, as if they knew something dark was coming. Evan sat near a small fire with Lyra, his muscles still aching from the trials he completed earlier. He tried to rest, but his mind refused. To calm down, he looked at the glowing marks on his hands. They pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He wondered if they were changing him somehow, or if the light was only a sign of the tribe's belief. Lyra noticed his worry. She sat beside him and spoke softly. "You did well today. The tribe believes in you now." Evan rubbed his forehead. "Lyra, I didn't ask for any of this. I only wanted help with my ship." She nodded slowly. "I know, but destiny does not ask, it chooses." Evan sighed. "I hope destiny knows what it's doing." Before Lyra could answer, the ground trembled slightly. The fire flickered, and a cold wind swept through the valley. Evan stood up at once. His instincts screamed danger. Then they heard it, a sharp, distant scream, not Yulani, something else, something cruel. The drums that usually echoed with joy stopped suddenly. Silence fell so fast it felt unnatural. Then shadows moved beyond the glowing trees. Dozens of them. Lyra's face went pale. "No, not tonight," she whispered. "It's the Krugoth raiders. They come only for one reason." Evan's heart dropped. "To kill," he said quietly. The first attack came fast. A burning spear flew from the trees and hit a hut. The fire exploded upward. Children cried. Elders shouted. Warriors tried to gather, but the Krugoth raiders rushed in like dark storm clouds. Evan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Get everyone to safety." But Lyra shook her head fiercely. "You are bonded to us. You cannot run. They came for you. They came to break the prophecy." Another spear crashed nearby. Evan ducked. His chest tightened. Rage and fear mixed inside him. He saw the raiders clearly, now tall, armored in bone plates, with red lights glowing under their skin. Their weapons looked alive, pulsing like living creatures. A Krugoth warrior roared and charged at a Yulani child frozen in fear. The child could not move. Evan didn't think. He ran fast. He reached the child and grabbed him just as the warrior's blade cut through the air. Evan pushed the child aside and rolled across the ground. The blade struck the earth where the child had stood. The tribe gasped. The warrior turned to Evan with blazing red eyes. "You are the human," the warrior growled. "The tribe's false protector." Evan stood up slowly, breathing hard. "I don't want to fight," he said, "but I will protect them." The warrior roared and charged. Evan dodged left, grabbed a fallen wooden beam, and blocked the incoming strike. The force pushed him back, but he stood his ground. Another warrior ran toward an elder who could barely walk. Evan sprinted and tackled the attacker from the side. They rolled across the ground, dust rising in thick clouds. The warrior's fist hit Evan's ribs. Pain shot across his body, but he held on. He grabbed a rock and struck the warrior's arm until the blade dropped. Then he kicked the attacker away. The Yulani watched with shock. They had never seen a human fight. They had never seen anyone fight like this. Lyra shouted from behind, "Evan, more of them are coming." The raiders poured into the village, breaking huts, stealing supplies, shouting war cries that shook the valley. Flames rose high, casting huge shadows across the trees. Evan grabbed a long piece of broken spear from the ground. It was cracked but sharp enough. He stood in front of the tribe, chest rising and falling. Fast sweat on his forehead. "If you want the Yulani," he shouted at the raiders, "you go through me." The nearest Kraguf laughed. "A single human cannot stop us." Evan tightened his grip. "Try me." The battle exploded. Evan blocked 2 strikes, spun around, and hit a raider in the knee. The alien fell with a heavy crash. Another raider swung at him. Evan ducked, rolled, and punched the attacker in the throat. Pain burned through Evan's body. But something else burned too. Courage rage, a strange fire he did not recognize. The glowing marks on his hands suddenly brightened, lighting up the smoke-filled darkness. The raiders stepped back for a moment in fear. "He carries the ancient light," one whispered. Evan didn't know what they meant, but he used the moment. He pushed forward, forcing the attackers away from the tribe's center. More Yulani warriors gathered behind him, ready to defend their home. Finally, after many long minutes, the raiders pulled back. Their leader pointed at Evan with a trembling claw. "This is not over, human," he growled. "The next attack will crush you." Then they vanished into the dark forest, leaving smoke, fire, and frightened whispers behind. Evan dropped to one knee, exhausted. Lyra rushed to him and helped him stand. Her eyes shone with fear and pride. "You saved us," she whispered. "You truly saved us." Evan looked at the burning village, his hands still glowing, his voice low but firm. "This was only the beginning," he said, "and something worse is coming." The night after the attack felt longer than any night Evan had ever lived. The fires were finally controlled. The smoke faded into the sky, and the tribe gathered quietly around what remained of the village. Children clung to their parents, elders whispered prayers, and warriors stood guard with tired eyes. Evan sat near the broken fire circle, his body aching, his clothes torn. His hands still glowed with the strange tribal markings, pulsing softly like warm blood under his skin. Every time they pulsed, he remembered the moment the raiders stepped back in fear. He had no idea what the glowing meant, but the tribe did. Lyra approached him slowly, carrying a cloth bundle. She placed it beside him and sat down. Her face looked different tonight, sad, thoughtful, scared all at once. "You fought like one of us," she said gently. "Maybe even stronger than us." Evan shook his head. "I was just trying to keep everyone alive." Lyra pulled the cloth open. Inside was a small stone tablet, ancient, covered with dust and strange carvings. She brushed it softly and looked up at Evan with serious eyes. "It is time you know the truth," she said. "The real truth behind the sacred handshake." Evan straightened, his breath slowing. "What truth?" Lyra hesitated, her fingers shaking slightly on the stone. "The elder wanted to tell you after the celebration, but the attacks came too fast." She held the tablet so Evan could see the carvings. They showed figures of old Yulani leaders, fire symbols, tall strange beings that looked very much like humans. Evan blinked. "Is that—" "Yes," Lyra whispered. "It is a human from long ago." Jeevan stared closer. His heart felt like it skipped a beat. The tablet showed a tall human raising his glowing hand alongside the Yulani tribe. The carvings looked old, thousands of years old. "But humans never came here before," Evan said, confused. Lyra shook her head softly. "Not recorded in your world maybe, but here. Long ago. One human did." She pointed at the carvings. "He came from the sky like you. He protected our ancestors from the Kragath when they almost wiped us out." Evan's chest tightened with disbelief. "So your tribe thinks I'm that human returning?" "Not returning," Lyra corrected gently, "but chosen, connected to the same light, the same fire." Evan touched the glowing marks on his hands. "This light. This comes from the handshake ritual." "No," Lyra whispered. "It comes from you." Evan froze. "From May?" Lyra nodded. "Only a being with strong inner energy can activate the ritual. The elder offered his hand to you because he felt something inside you." Something that only appears once in many generations. Evan looked down, trying to understand. He felt normal. He was normal. A simple human pilot. Nothing special, nothing powerful. I don't have any special energy, he said quietly. You do, Lyra whispered. You proved it last night, the way your markings glowed. The raiders have seen that only once before. It is a sign of the ancient protector. Evan rubbed his forehead, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on him. So that tablet, the carving of the human, he was the first protector. Lyra nodded again. Yes, and the sacred handshake is not marriage in the way you think. It is a binding of energy, a bond of leadership and protection, a promise made with spirit, not with love. Evan blinked. So I didn't marry the whole tribe. Lyra smiled softly. In our language, the word for bond and marriage is the same. You bonded with us, not as a husband, but as a guide, a shield. Evan exhaled deeply, some fear leaving his chest but a new kind of pressure rising in its place. Why didn't anyone tell me earlier? Lyra looked down, her voice soft. Because the tribe feared you would refuse, and we would be left without hope, without a protector, without the fire human the prophecy speaks of. Vevan looked out across the damaged village, the tribe rebuilding, comforting each other, cleaning debris with slow, tired hands. The children looked at him with trust, with belief. Evan whispered, "They really think I can save them." Lyra placed her hand on his arm gently. "Because you already have," Evan swallowed, his heart heavy but warm. "And the Kragath, they won't stop, will they?" Lyra shook her head, fear filling her eyes. "No. Last night was only a warning. They saw your light, and now they will prepare something stronger, something cruel." Evan clenched his hands, the symbols glowing brighter as if reacting to his determination. "Then we need to prepare too," he said firmly. "Show me everything about your history, your battles, your rituals. I need to know what the first human knew." Lyra smiled with relief. "I will teach you," she whispered, "and when the time comes, you will stand as the true protector." Evan looked at the old tablet again, tracing the human carved in stone. He never asked for this role, but now it belonged to him. The fire inside him grew, and the next battle, the biggest one, was coming. Soon. The days after learning the truth passed quickly, too quickly for Evan. Every sunrise brought the same feeling: pressure, fear, and a strange new strength growing inside him. He trained with the Ulani every morning, learning their movement style, their silent signals, their hidden tricks that only their protectors knew. Lyra stayed beside him through every lesson, correcting his steps, guiding his hands, teaching him how to breathe with the energy inside. The symbols, the glowing marks on his skin, pulsed brighter each day, almost as if they were alive. The tribe felt the change too, when Evan walked through the valley. The Ulani bowed with respect, not because of a mistake, but because he was becoming what they believed, a true protector. But peace never lasted long on this planet. On the 6th morning, before the sun climbed over the glowing trees, a chilling horn echoed from the mountains. Its sound shook the air, deep and cold. Every Ulani froze. Every child grabbed their parent's arm. Every warrior lifted their weapon. Lyra's face turned pale. "The Kragath have gathered their full army," she whispered. "The final battle is here." Evan stepped forward. "How many?" Lyra swallowed hard. "All of them." Lulder Voru walked toward Evan with slow, heavy steps. "The prophecy says the fire protector stands alone at first," he said, "but the tribe stands behind him. This is our last chance." Evan felt his heart pound, but he did not step back. He tightened his hands until the glowing marks brightened like burning gold. "Then we fight," he said. "We protect the valley, no matter the cost." The tribe moved fast, forming defensive lines, building barriers from stone and roots, preparing every warrior who could stand. Children and elders were moved underground, into the crystal tunnels. The valley became silent, ready, waiting. Then the first Kragath soldier appeared on the cliff above. Then another, then hundreds. Evan's breath caught. The entire ridge was covered with them, armored in bone plates. Red energy glowing under their skin like fire that wanted to break free. Their leader stepped forward, the same one from the night attack, but now wearing a massive skull helmet that made him look twice his size. He raised his blade and shouted, "Human! Today we end your light." Evan stepped to the front of the Yulani line, alone. His glowing hands were bright enough to shine on the ground around him. The energy inside him pulsed like a second heartbeat. He shouted back, "If you want this tribe, come and take them." The Kregath roared and charged downhill like a living avalanche. The ground shook, the sky trembled, and the final battle began. Evan ran forward too. Meeting the charge head on, he grabbed a fallen spear and blocked the first blade that came at him. Sparks exploded in the air. A second warrior swung at him. Evan ducked and rolled. His glowing fist struck the warrior's chest, and the alien was thrown backward as if hit by a giant hammer. The Yulani gasped. They had never seen a human move with such force, but there was no time to think. The Kregath came like a storm. Dozens surrounded Evan. He fought with every skill he had learned, mixing human instinct with Yulani training. He moved fast, blocking, striking, dodging, using the ground like a weapon, breaking enemy lines every time they formed around him. Lyra and the Yulani warriors charged behind him, fighting with courage they never knew they had. Evan's bravery lit a fire inside them. Evan blocked a heavy strike, slid under a warrior's legs, twisted their blade away, and smashed another attacker aside with his glowing forearm. The heat from the symbols felt stronger now, almost burning, but it gave him power. The Kregath leader finally reached him, swinging his huge blade with brutal force. Evan blocked, but the impact pushed him back several steps. The ground cracked under his feet. "You cannot save them." The leader roared. Evan steadied himself, breathing hard. "I don't need to save them alone," he said. The Yulani warriors shouted behind him and rushed forward, surrounding their protector, forming a tight circle around him, fighting shoulder to shoulder. The Kregath pushed harder, but the Yulani fought fiercely, using everything they had. The battle shook the valley, dust and sparks flying everywhere. Evan caught the leader's blade with both hands, the glowing marks on his skin erupting. With bright golden light, the leader's eyes widened. Impossible. The ancient fire. Evan roared and pushed the blade away, then struck the leader square in the chest. The force was so strong the armored alien flew backward into a rock wall, breaking it. Silence fell for a moment. A long, heavy silence. Then the remaining Kregath turned and ran, dropping their weapons, shouting in fear. Evan stood in the center of the battlefield, his chest rising and falling, smoke and dust around him, the glowing marks on his hands slowly fading back to normal brightness. The Yulani slowly gathered around him, their eyes wide, their hearts full. Lyra stepped forward, tears filling her eyes, her voice shaking. "Evan, you truly are the protector." Evan looked at the tribe, at the valley he had fought for, at the people who believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself, and he whispered, "I'm not done yet. The battle may be over, but the story isn't," because he knew something bigger waited beyond this valley, and destiny wasn't finished with him. Asterisk. The smoke from the battle drifted slowly into the morning sky, and for the first time since Evan crashed into the valley, the air felt peaceful. The ground was marked with deep cuts, broken weapons, and fallen armor. But there was no fear left in the valley, only breathless silence, the kind that comes after surviving something that should have destroyed you. Evan stood in the middle of the battlefield, his shoulders heavy, his clothes torn, his body bruised. But he was alive. The glowing marks on his hands pulsed softly like warm embers after a dying fire. The Yulani tribe gathered slowly around him, staring not with fear or confusion anymore, but with deep respect, gratitude, and something else. Something like pride. Elder Voru approached first, leaning on his staff, his old eyes shining with tears. "Human Evan," he said softly, "today you have done more than protect our tribe. You have shown us that the ancient prophecy was not a story, it was a truth waiting to come alive. Evan shook his head quietly. I didn't do it alone, he said, his voice tired but honest. Your people fought with me. You trusted me. That gave me strength. Lyra stepped closer, face glowing in the morning light. She looked at Evan the way someone looks at a hero from a dream. You did not run, she said. You stayed. You chose us, even when you had every reason to leave. Evan looked down at his hands. The markings still warm. Maybe I didn't choose in the beginning, he admitted. But I choose now, the tribe gasped softly. Some placed their hands over their hearts. Others lowered their heads with emotion. Evan continued, I choose to stand with you, to protect you, to help rebuild everything the Kragath tried to destroy. The elders smiled, a slow, proud smile. Then hear this, protector, he said. Only once in our history has a being from the sky accepted our bond willingly. You are now the second. Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest, not from the markings, but from the weight of the elder's words. But the elder was not finished. He raised his staff, and the tribe formed a large circle around Evan. Their glowing clothing and stones lit up the valley like stars on the ground. This is the ceremony of truth, Lyra whispered to him. Every protector who chooses us must stand at the center of the tribe. Evan had no idea what to expect, but he stepped into the center. The elder lifted his staff higher and spoke loudly. Evan Miles, protector of the Yulani, the one who carries the ancient fire. You have shown courage in the face of danger. You fought for us when you had no reason to. You defended our children, our elders, our land. He paused, his voice softening. Now the bond is no longer a mistake. It is your choice. The tribe lowered to one knee. Even the warriors bowed their heads. Even the smallest children placed their hands on the ground. In respect, Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining with emotion. Evan, she said softly, you were never trapped here. You were found here. Those words hit him harder than any strike in battle. Evan took a slow breath. Then I stand with you, he said, not because of prophecy, not because of symbols, but because this tribe deserves a future. The elder placed his staff against Evan's glowing markings. The symbols burst with bright golden light, reaching toward the sky like rising flames. The light spread across the entire valley, touching every Yulani, every tree, every stone. For the first time in centuries, the ancient fire awakened. The tribe gasped as warmth washed over them. The fear that had haunted them for generations melted away. The fire protector was real again, alive and standing before them. When the light faded, Evan looked at his hands. The marks were no longer just symbols. They felt like part of him, like a heartbeat outside his body. Elder Voru whispered, you are Yulani now. The tribe cheered loud, joyful, unstoppable. Their voices echoed across the mountains, sending a message to every rival tribe. The protector has returned. As the celebration grew, Lyra stood beside Evan, watching the sunrise. The sky glowed soft blue and gold, the same colors as the markings on Evan's skin. She smiled and said, you came here by accident, but you stayed by choice. That makes you more Yulani than you know. Vin looked over the valley, the place that had once confused him, scared him, trapped him. Now it felt like a home he never expected to find. He whispered softly, maybe crashing here wasn't an accident after all. Lyra placed her hand in his. Not as a ritual, not as a bond, but as a quiet thank you. Welcome home, protector, she said. And for the first time since landing on this strange world, Evan smiled. The human who began with a simple handshake now stood as a legend, a guardian, written into the future of an entire alien tribe. A protector whose story would be told for generations. And though he never planned to be a hero, he became one anyway, because sometimes humans are exactly what the universe needs.